Ben didn't want his love letters to Jennifer being made public in her new film, but insiders have claimed it wasn't because he had kept them a secret from his ex-wife. Because Jennifer Garner's fans were kind of outraged after Ben Affleck revealed that he clung on to his correspondence with J.Lo during his 13-year marriage, and then had those letters and emails bound into a book to gift to Jenny from the Block when they reunited in 2021. But insiders have quashed any notion that the admission shocked Garner. Apparently she was happy for Ben Affleck and J.Lo. She's friends with them, and she's also at peace in her current relationship. But Ben, on the other hand, would love for the outside world not to know about his love letters. Sure, he's a romantic, but you know, he's still a private kind of guy. He keeps his memories, whether it is from the movies he worked on or family, relationship moments. He always has what common folks call receipts. But then at the end of the day, nobody was surprised by J.Lo making things public because J.Lo wanted everybody to know about it. She was like, oh, this is our inspiration. Ben didn't know that she actually brought those into the studio until she told the world. According to several of J.Lo's former staff members, Jennifer earned herself the nickname Paylo because she paid her staff around 50% less than they could make elsewhere. And this rumor's been going on for years, so it's pretty much fact at this point. We're talking like 2003, which is like 20 plus years ago. J.Lo was spotted in Vegas with Ben Affleck when they were first dating. Right now we're in round 3, 2, depends on where you are on the timeline. The pair had a big win. Ben decided to drop $2,000 to the dealer, but before the dealer could actually take his well-earned reward, J.Lo snatched up the cash, swapped it for $200. Now, people are like, okay, does she have a reason for paying her staff so little? She's like, yeah, I had to work hard to make my money, so like everybody else should. And like, I'm sorry, that's just embarrassing. If you had to work hard to earn what you earned, you should want to try and make it easier for others because you know how hard it is. It's just a really entitled point of view, and it's gross. Now, if you didn't know, earlier this year, J.Lo released her documentary on Prime. It's This Is Me Now, a love story. Gave a behind-the-scenes look into her album, This Is Me Now. If I'm sounding redundant, just you wait. The movie was called The Greatest Love Story Never Told. Until it was told, and now it's over. Sorry, my little ad lib there. Some fans who watched it took to social media to call her out for her lies. Because in one scene, she poses in the mirror of her personal gym because she's shaking out her hair. She's reminiscing about growing up in the Bronx. She's like, yeah, I like taking my hair like this. It reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block. Crazy little girl who used to be effing wild, no limits, all dreams. But then come in TikTok user, photos by Angela, who's like, I went to the same Catholic high school as J.Lo, and J.Lo is lying. She said, and I quote, we both attended an all-girls high school in an Irish and Italian neighborhood, so you weren't running up and down the block. Now, J.Lo's been long accused of some fibbing and whatnot. One big fib, apparently she doesn't actually sing on her albums. Singer Natasha Ramos took to TikTok to shed light on that rumor. So Natasha has a voice pretty similar to J.Lo's, and was allegedly hired to sing the demo of Jenny from the Block. And the production team liked her voice so much that they asked her to record 5 more songs for an album, which, oh boy. Natasha received $3,500 in a backup singer's credit. But as she claims, and as the original demo demonstrates, yeah, it's her voice in the final track. And not only in the choruses, it's her laugh, it's her yelling from the Bronx. J.Lo, I think, only really sings in the verse. Speaking of stealing, J.Lo's notorious for stealing from other artists. Like, she caught her big break back in 1997 when she starred as the late Latin pop icon Selena in the biography of the same name. And after that film, J.Lo ventured into music. Her demo was picked up by music exec Tommy Mottola and Sony Music, and she dropped her debut album in summer of 1999. And one big hit from that album was If You Had My Love. You know it, you love it, we've all heard it. Well, that song got some backlash from R&B singer Shantae Moore because Moore had a near identical song called If I Gave Love that she recorded a year prior in 1998. Both these songs were written and produced by Rodney Jerkins. It's been said that J.Lo's then boyfriend, whose name I probably shouldn't say on here, pressured Jerkins to write a near identical song. And J.Lo's stealing habits only got worse as time went on. This wasn't like a one and done. So using background vocals is not uncommon in the music industry. But the issue with J.Lo is that she's passed those off as her own. Songs like Play and the I'm Real remix feature prominent reference track vocals from Christina Milian, Ashanti. J.Lo and Ja Rule's music video for I'm in Real remix, yeah, J.Lo used Ashanti's reference track vocals in the song and passed them off as her own. Yeah, instead of J.Lo re-recording the song, which is kind of what's normal in the industry, she left the demo vocals on the song and failed to credit anybody else. If I was to list everybody she's like stolen from over the years or attempted to steal from, we'd be here all day. But let's look at some notable names. Usher, Mariah Carey, Brandy Norwood. I could go on and on. Oh, and by the way, J.Lo's also been accused of lip syncing a lot during live performances. In 2021, fans flooded social media during her American Music Awards performance because they were very disappointed that her vocals did not match the studio version of her song On My Way. And then 2014, she was performing on American Idol, and folks were like, no, you're lip syncing I Love Ya Poppy. We all saw it, we all know it. Not the right move. So in 2002, J.Lo starred in the romantic comedy Made in Manhattan. And she went all over the world promoting this, and when she landed in London, people were talking. They weren't talking about the movie though, they were talking about her demands. Because, well, she was there and, hanging out, she had a very interesting encounter with hotel staff. She was staying at the Metropolitan Hotel, and this is where the early signs of J.Lo being a career diva began to show. The hotel staff was astounded by her extravagant demands, because apparently it was reaching levels they'd never seen before. She was like, I need thousands of pounds of lemon-scented candles. And also, if I'm even gonna go a block around the corner, I need a limo. Literally, she had 7 limousines escort her to lunch at a place that was only 200 yards away. So maybe you think, well, Alexa, maybe she grew out of that. 2012 reports surfaced that Jenny from the Block demanded that staff working for her make no eye contact or even speak with her. While having work done on her San Fernando Valley home, she demanded that none of the helpers, drivers, or contractors have any interactions with her. And reportedly, when flying first class, she doesn't like anybody to bother her. Not even a flight attendant. And that's their job. They bother you for safety, if you need a snack. One time a flight attendant offered her a drink, and she was like, She said instead to her assistant, please tell him I'd like a Diet Coke and lime. Sure, this rumor hasn't really been confirmed, but come on, who does that? J.Lo had her former co-star Ryan Guzman fake his relationship status to hype up their movie almost 10 years ago. And we found this out from his ex-girlfriend who was with him at the time. So Melanie Iglesias called out J.Lo on the No Chaser podcast for how Jen acted during the 2015 The Boy Next Door press run. Because apparently J.Lo was holding hands with Ryan at after parties and acting like they were an item. But she knew fully well he had an actual girlfriend. The model says she even met J.Lo at an award show while she was dating Ryan, claiming she gave her an awkwardly firm handshake and an intimidating once-over, something Melanie says she was disappointed over, seeing as at the time she viewed J.Lo as a hero. And Melanie also pointed that when Ellen DeGeneres directly asked J.Lo on the show, doesn't he have a girlfriend? J.Lo played dumb. She's like, I don't know. Girl, you knew. J.Lo faced a lot of backlash after revealing she was unhappy about sharing the stage with fellow artist Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl. The duo took the stage by storm at the iconic annual halftime show, with their history-making performance attracting a lot of praise from fans and celebrities worldwide. But turns out, despite the actual success of the performance, J.Lo wasn't really happy with the NFL's decision to have her and Shakira take the stage together. She admitted in her Netflix documentary that we know way too much about that she thought it was the worst idea in the world. Shortly after those comments hit online, fans were like, okay, what's up with this entitled attitude? Arguing that regardless of time constraints, it was iconic.
Does Ben Affleck secretly hate J.Lo's level of fame? A recent interview with Kevin Hart has just shed some light on this debated topic. Hart's Peacock series, Heart to Heart, is a talk show that brings on A-listers to showcase their true self. Affleck was the A-lister for the season 4 premiere. A good choice considering everyone wants to know what's been up with him lately. People have been wondering if Affleck secretly dislikes his wife's level of fame. He certainly didn't help his case when he said it was effing bananas, which could mean nothing. Although he is right to say it, J.Lo's fame level is off the charts. In context, the actor had been telling a story about him and his family when they were in NYC and on their way to a Broadway show. However, due to bad traffic or something, they had to get out and walk the remainder of the way to the theater to make sure they were going to be on time. Affleck recalls that once out of the car and into Times Square, people immediately reacted to J.Lo running backwards to get videos and pictures and screaming. It was, as Affleck claims, effing bananas. If Affleck does hate J.Lo's fame, he is trying to keep that under wraps, finishing off his story saying his wife was amazing. Sometimes secrets between couples are a good thing, and it can be a serious breach of trust when those secrets get shared without one party's consent. That's exactly what happened between Lopez and Affleck when J.Lo shared the love letters Ben had written to her, and he didn't find out until it already happened. Affleck is a very private guy. That has been made abundantly clear over the years, letters, that means he is also not one to share many comments about his personal relationships. That doesn't mean he isn't a romantic, he clearly is if the love letters he wrote for J.Lo are anything to go by. However, it seems that in his perfect world, we would never know about these love letters, especially not the content in them. But once those letters left his hands for J.Lo's, he lost control over who reads them. J.Lo let some musicians read the contents of the letters in hopes it would inspire them. This happened while filming the documentary about her movie. Ben allegedly had no idea this was going to happen, which some people say is a serious breach of trust. Even though Affleck appeared taken aback, he seems to have accepted that it happened, and that if J.Lo wants to call the film the greatest love story never told, the letters about said love story should probably be in it. Affleck hates the spotlight, old news. J.Lo loves the spotlight, also old news. Opposites attract, but there is only so long people can go on pretending they enjoy something they secretly hate. Affleck has been making it clear that he would prefer to be out of the picture rather than in it. Back at the 2023 Grammys, Affleck made it quite clear he didn't want to be the center of attention that night, leading to a clip of a small disagreement between him and J.Lo going viral online. The couple were on camera in the first place because the host, Trevor Noah, was doing like a little bit right beside them. It was impossible to not have the couple in the shot. In the viral clip, you can see Affleck lean forward to whisper something in J.Lo's ear, something she clearly didn't like, as it looks like she's angry with Affleck, says some stern words, and lightly hits him on the chest before turning back around, realizing where the camera is, and smiling. People were quick to comment on this interaction with things like "Free Ben" and "Affleck looks miserable." It was causing such a ruckus that Affleck actually ended up clearing the air in a later interview. He shared that the interaction was simply another addition of him being camera shy, saying, "I saw Trevor Noah and I was like, oh god, they were framing us in the shot, but I didn't know they were rolling. I leaned into her and I was like, as soon as they start rolling, I'm going to slide away from you." To which J.Lo's response was apparently, "You better effing not leave." So she was actually a bit upset with him because he didn't want to be on camera, which could mean nothing in the long run, but if we are looking at the long run of this couple so far, this seems to be a common theme. Ben Affleck's recent home switch has many turning heads. Him and J.Lo were living together in a mansion they purchased in 2023 for $60.8 million. Now it seems Ben has either moved out or is simply spending some time in a different mansion. The rental the actor is staying at is notably closer to where his ex, Jennifer Garner, lives, which could mean nothing. It also could mean he just wants to live closer to his kids, especially with so many milestones happening, like his daughter's graduation, for example. People are still keeping a close eye on said rental, hoping to get some info about what is going down, or maybe if J.Lo is staying there too. Some would argue no, after the incident at Affleck's daughter's graduation party. Affleck and J.Lo attended together and were seen leaving together in his car, heading back to the rental. However, once they got there, J.Lo was not sticking around, allegedly getting out of one car and into the next before presumably heading home. Now photos of the couple's $60 million mansion are back on Zillow. Nothing has been confirmed yet regarding whether or not the couple is actually selling their property, but the secret photos are an interesting move. Speaking of spending time apart, it looks like Affleck is hanging around making headlines in LA right now, while J.Lo is off vacationing in Europe. If J.Lo wanted to keep this mini vacay on the down low, it is not working. Photos have hit celebrity gossip sites of the singer on boats taking selfies because she looks great on a boat in Italy. I think we would all snap a few selfies in that situation. Notably, J.Lo's husband, he's not there with her. This absolutely might be due to a work-related reason. Affleck does seem quite busy between his current projects being filmed and running Artist Equity with longtime partner in crime Matt Damon. Sources that claim to be close to J.Lo have given some insight into why Ben and J.Lo might be apart right now, saying, "Jen loves vacationing in Europe during the summer. It's been nice for her to experience a change of pace and have some breathing room. So it seems like maybe J.Lo just needs some time away, which could mean nothing." The source confirmed that J.Lo is having a good time with her girls, doing the kind of stuff that is allegedly not really Affleck's scene, like staying out late, getting dressed up to go shopping, dancing, and things like that. The source confirmed that all that isn't really Affleck's thing, saying that's never really been Ben's scene, even when him and Jen weren't having any issues. They did clarify that though Affleck is not there with his wife, J.Lo isn't letting that dampen her vacation, which, good for her, she's partying the night away in Europe, she should be feeling her best doing that. It's come out that J.Lo allegedly has rules that Affleck must follow, ranging from some that align with Affleck's lifestyle already, and a few that are unexpected, at least to the public. Some rules that Affleck allegedly must follow that he was probably already doing are working out and not smoking or drinking. One of the newer, surprising rules are no female flight attendants on their flights. When the public found out about this little secret rule, people were quick to call J.Lo controlling and overbearing. However, there might be a reason J.Lo allegedly has a rule like this. A past ex of hers, Mark Anthony, allegedly had an affair with a female flight attendant. Ben Affleck has been caught without his wedding ring more than once, which is not a good look amid rumors of divorce. Just a few days ago, the star was out to lunch with his oldest daughter, and NY Post reports that he wasn't wearing his wedding ring, which could mean nothing. One time that Affleck was seen without his ring definitely did mean nothing. The Accountant 2 is in production right now, so Affleck has been filming for that for the past little bit. While on set, he was spotted without his wedding ring, but as I mentioned before, they were filming. The missing ring likely had more to do with filming the movie than anything happening in his personal life. He was seen wearing it the next day as he headed to work, so he is really keeping people on their toes with this one. One big secret everyone wants to uncover is why Affleck and Lopez have been attending some events solo. It's a big mystery everyone wants to solve, and the official statements from the stars are making some people more suspicious than anything else. The biggest event J.Lo attended alone would have to be this year's Met Gala. The singer was a co-chair for the event, but showed up noticeably single. She looked great on the carpet as she headed in to host the biggest fashion event of the year, but people just couldn't shake that Affleck wasn't there beside her. The official reason given by a rep for Affleck was that he was filming The Accountant 2 in LA and just couldn't make it out. An unofficial statement comes from an alleged friend of Affleck's that he maybe opted out simply because he hates the Met Gala and it's not his scene. What is interesting is the day before the Met Gala, Affleck was present for the roast of Tom Brady, even giving a speech. Many wonder why he was able to get time off for that and not the Met Gala. Though they are on completely different sides of the country and he was already in LA, which could mean nothing. When it came out that J.Lo not only tries to control how much Affleck tips those in the service industry, but also will secretly exchange larger tips for smaller ones, people were in disbelief. Multiple people have shared their encounters serving J.Lo and Ben in some way on TikTok, leading to some pretty viral videos. Most stories have one thing in common: J.Lo is not fun to serve. One former casino employee claimed in a video uploaded to TikTok that J.Lo would either encourage Affleck to leave smaller tips for employees, or if he'd left something big, circle back later and exchange the tip for something smaller, likely without her husband knowing, but not always. In one particular instance of this, Affleck was allegedly present when it happened and allegedly looked mortified. Now some servers claim Affleck doesn't tip at all anymore, which could mean nothing. Is it possible that Affleck has been keeping his true feelings about his marriage to J.Lo under wraps? It looks like, if we trust a recent source that has come forward claiming that Affleck said his marriage to J.Lo was made in a burst of temporary insanity. This source has single-handedly caused the most drama for this couple over the past few months, and with claims like Affleck has come to his senses after years of being in a fever dream regarding his marriage to J.Lo, it's not hard to see why. The source spoke to Page 6, saying if there was a way to divorce on grounds of temporary insanity, he would. He feels like the last 2 years were just a fever dream, and he's come to his senses now and understands there is just no way this is going to work. Now that's quite a big statement to make, and it could mean nothing, but the way Ben and J.Lo have been acting for the past few months has led to this source gaining validity every day.
From cheating to wanting kids to diva behavior, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck are headed for divorce, and here's our list of secrets that destroyed them. Now starting off, we have Ben's cheating past. Not even a month after their 10-year wedding anniversary, Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck announced that they were getting a divorce. This came as a surprise to a lot of people, as throughout their marriage they seemingly had a very healthy relationship. Now it turns out that was not the case for as long as we thought. When the pair did divorce, there were rumors going around that Ben had formed a relationship with their children's nanny. Now of course he denied these rumors, with a rep for Ben saying that the story was complete garbage and full of lies. However, later in a conversation with Vanity Fair, Jennifer Garner confirmed that yes, Ben had an affair with their nanny. She said that there were lots of reasons for their split, but this was definitely not something you can ignore. She then went on to say it's not great for your kids for a nanny need to disappear from their lives. I've had to have conversations with my children about the meaning of a scandal, she said. Now, in that same interview, the actress said, "No one needs to hate him for me. I don't hate him. Certainly we don't have to beat the guy up. Don't worry, my eyes were wide open during the marriage." Next is Jen wanting a baby. Now, a source exclusively told Life in Style that J.Lo has been trying to persuade Ben to have a baby via surrogate and claims that she finally got him to cave in. The source says Jennifer has become passionate about getting yet another second chance, having a baby with Ben. She nagged him until he went along with it, added the source. Ben was completely happy with the blended family they already have, but he loves kids, that's why he agreed to having another. At the end of the day, he wants Jennifer to be happy. But I mean, it doesn't really feel like he wants another kid. Now, Ben has 3 children from his previous marriage, while Jen has 2. Now, they're allegedly in the planning stage, with Jen looking at surrogates, but with the rumors of a divorce and the pair currently living apart for the time being, adding another kid into the equation doesn't sound like a good idea at all. Then there's Ben's addiction. Ben has been open about his addiction to alcohol. He first checked into a rehab facility in 2001, completing a 30-day residential rehabilitation program for alcohol abuse. He then sought treatment for alcoholism on several occasions in the years since, getting professional help in 2008, 2017, and again in 2018 after his divorce from Jennifer Garner was finalized. Now, he briefly relapsed in 2019, but said he wouldn't let it derail him, admitting it happens, it's a slip. Now, that same year, the actor acknowledged that being an alcoholic is something that he deals with on a daily basis, saying on the Today Show, "It doesn't have to subsume my whole identity and be everything, but it's something that you have to work at." Now, since Ben's addiction has played out so publicly, it's become unfortunately common for fans to speculate about his health, particularly after he married Jennifer Lopez. For example, a video clip of Jennifer and Ben having a seemingly tense conversation at the premiere for her movie Shotgun Wedding went viral in January after fans suspected the pair were arguing over Ben's drinking. Now that things appear to be rocky between the two, maybe Ben has relapsed again. Now let's talk about Jen exposing their relationship. Ben was taken aback when Jen shared with songwriters the private letters that he wrote to her to serve as an inspiration for her upcoming album, This Is Me Now. Per Variety, in a preview for her forthcoming Amazon Prime documentary, The Greatest Love Story Never Told, Jen had invited musicians to their home and gave them access to Ben's love letters. Now, ironically, Ben walked in at that very moment and was surprised to see the letters being passed around. "I did really find the beauty and the poetry and the irony in the fact that it's the greatest love story never told," he said to the camera. "If you're making a record about it, that seems kinda like telling it." Now, reacting to the way J.Lo shared Ben's private letters, several Twitter users admitted that they found it invasive. "Sharing personal love letters with a bunch of people without the writer's permission seems like a very weird thing to do," one person wrote. "Literally cannot imagine sharing love letters with strangers, this is so invasive," another user said. "When you write something deeply intimate to your partner that comes from a very vulnerable place, one of the worst things a partner can do is show these to others," someone tweeted. Another one said, "It's truly inconsiderate to release it without telling him, especially considering he was probably being vulnerable," another user agreed. And I gotta say, I think it was a bad move on Jen's part. On to relationship rules. Jennifer's relationships are often in the spotlight, as she's been in several high-profile relationships that made headlines all over the world. From 2004 to 2011, she was married to Mark Anthony, and they had twins together. In 2017, she made headlines again when she broke the news that she was dating former New York Yankee Alex Rodriguez. Now, rumors spread that J.Lo would only consider marrying A-Rod if he agreed to a list of demands. Reportedly, he'd not be allowed to talk to any woman under the age of 40, which is just super controlling and gross. And additionally, J.Lo loved his physique and wanted a guarantee that he wouldn't let himself go once they got married. Now, none of these rumors have actually been confirmed, but it does seem pretty realistic to me. Now, we know that Jen and A-Rod didn't work out as she's now married to Ben, but I'm sure she has rules for him too, which is just unfortunate. Then there's the fact that Jen is a diva. Now, according to several of J.Lo's former staff members, Jennifer earned herself the nickname Pay-Lo because she paid her staff around 50% less than they could make elsewhere. Now, this rumor has been going on for years. As you see, way back in 2003, Jennifer was spotted in Vegas with her then boyfriend, Ben Affleck. Now, the pair had a big win, and Ben decided to drop a $2,000 tip to the dealer, but before he could scoop up the generous award, J.Lo snatched up the cash and swiped it for $200 instead. Now, Jennifer's reason for paying her staff so little: she had to work hard to earn her money, so so should everyone else. Now this is just so embarrassing for her. If she had to work hard to earn her money, shouldn't she try to help make it easier for others because she knows how hard it is? She just seems so entitled, and it's just gross. Moving on to Ben not liking the spotlight. Now, at a separate point in Jennifer's documentary about her album, Ben discusses the subject of privacy more broadly when talking about his and Jen's relationship, which was rekindled in 2021, almost 2 decades after they called off their 2002 engagement. He said, "Things that are private, I always felt are sacred and special because in part they're private." He added, "When Jen and I broke up before," he said, while looking back at the end of their engagement in 2003, "the catalyst for that was this massive amount of scrutiny around our private life." However, he did suggest that the couple didn't necessarily share the same viewpoints when it came to having a romance in the public eye. "I had a very firm sense of boundaries initially around the press, while Jen, I don't think, objected to it the way I did," the star continued, "and I very much did object to it." Now we have J.Lo's failing tour. So we all know that J.Lo released an album called This Is Me Now, and she made a movie for it, and then a documentary for it. Now, it debuted at a disappointing number 38 on the Billboard 200, but despite this, J.Lo decided that she would go on tour with this album. Now, J.Lo first announced this tour in the middle of February, initially as This Is the Me Now tour. A week later, another 3 shows were added, but however, in mid-March, several tour dates were quietly removed without explanation. Then, the tour's name had been changed from This Is Me Now to This Is Me Live, The Greatest Hits. So instead of it being a tour for that specific album, she's having one of her own era's tours. Now, it's been cited that low ticket sales is a possible reason for emphasizing J.Lo's back catalog. Us Weekly reported that Jen was disappointed in the tour's lackluster ticket sales, but remained proud of the new projects. Jennifer is very focused on her latest project and doesn't want bad press to get in her head, they said. Now, if you go to Ticketmaster, there are a lot of tickets left, which is honestly just embarrassing. She should just play smaller venues or lower her ticket prices. Next up is not spending time together. Now, Ben and J.Lo have not been spotted together recently. For example, at the beginning of May, Jen attended the Met Gala all by herself. Now, this was shocking because Jen was a co-chair for the gala, but Ben was missing from the event. Now, Ben has been filming The Accountant too, and it's said that he skipped the event because of his schedule, but the night before, he was spotted at Tom Brady's roast in LA. Not to mention that J.Lo is gearing up for her tour, This Is Me Live, The Greatest Hits. Now, she'll be on the road from June 28th to August 17th, and with her being so busy with this, she won't really have that much time to spend with Ben, and it will just put more space in between the two. Not to mention, even now, she has so many rehearsals for the tour, maybe all the time apart will be negative and will really result in them getting a divorce. And finally, we have their fights. Now, a lot of the pair's fights have been caught on camera, and it's been awkward. Ben found himself at the center of attention after he was shown looking bored and miserable while he and Jen attended the Grammys. The pair went viral once again after the cameras caught them having yet another tense-looking exchange. In the clip, Ben could be seen leaning in to whisper in Jen's ear, only for her to turn her head suddenly and sternly say something to him. She then puts her hand to her chest and looks to tell Ben to sit up as he immediately adjusts his posture. Fans on Twitter had a field day guessing about what the husband and the wife duo could have possibly been fighting about, with people speculating that Ben's unusual behavior on the night may have been because he was drinking. Well, that's all for our list of the top 10 secrets that destroyed Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck.
Jennifer Lopez's new documentary is getting some mixed reviews, some believing she exposed too much of her personal life with Ben Affleck. First off, we see Ben talk about how he felt exposed after Jennifer shared a private book of their emails and letters. 20 years ago, I fell in love with the love of my life, and during that time I was making an album called This Is Me Then, Lopez is heard telling a crowd in the documentary. I hadn't made an album since then. Years later, we got back together and I was very inspired. The inspiration came after her, quote, Bible, she calls it, which was the book Affleck gave her on their first Christmas together. It is every letter and every email that we wrote to each other from 20 years ago to today, she says, sharing that he titled the quote Bible, The Greatest Love Story Never Told by Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, 2001 to 2021 and counting. Lopez placed the book in the studio and let her collaborators go through it for song inspiration. To Ben's surprise, Ben appears shocked and surprised to find out that Lopez shared this private book he gave her with everyone in the studio. When talking to the artist working with Jennifer Lopez, Affleck discovers that they gave him a nickname. I was like, "You've been showing all the musicians these letters?" Affleck says in the documentary, and they were like, "Yeah, we call you Pen Affleck." And I was like, oh my god. In the documentary, we also learned that Ben had some serious reservations of his love story being shared so publicly. I did really find the beauty and the poetry and the irony in the fact that it's the greatest love story never told, he tells the cameras, and if you're making a record about it, that seems kind of like you're telling it. In another scene, Affleck expresses how it was an adjustment for him to have her share their private life with the entire world. Jen was really inspired by this experience, which is how artists do their work, he says. "I certainly do the same things, but things that are private, I have always felt are sacred and special because, in part, they're private. So this was something of an adjustment for me." Ultimately, Ben comes to terms with Lopez's project after realizing it's not all about their relationship. "I don't really love being in the making of a documentary about my personal life, which is why I'm so relieved that I'm not really, well, it seems like I might be in this, but I'm not really," he says. "I was worrying for no reason. The movie wasn't about me. It was about the ability to love yourself, and that love story is a lot effing harder to find than Prince Charming." Next, we learned Ben had to make compromises when they got back together. "Getting back together, I said, listen, one of the things I don't want is a relationship on social media," Ben says. "Then I sort of realized it's not a fair thing to ask her. It's sort of like you're gonna marry a boat captain, and you're like, well, I don't like the water." He added, "We're just two people with kind of different approaches trying to learn to compromise." Next, we learned in the documentary that some A-list stars declined to be in the movie musical about her life that accompanies the documentary. In the documentary, Lopez reveals Anthony Ramos, the In the Heights star, was offered the role of her significant other in the rebound scene of the movie. "He was going to do the rebound number with me and the glass house," she tells wardrobe supervisor Sean Barton during rehearsals, and he was like, I'm friends with Mark Anthony." Lopez was married to Mark Anthony from 2004 to 2014, and the pair share 16-year-old twins. The rebound scene that Anthony was supposed to be in shows Lopez in a toxic relationship with a drunken partner. The singer, however, never specifically mentions who the song and scene is about. We also see Jennifer crying about a past relationship and how it negatively impacted her self-esteem. She gets emotional as she recalls a relationship in which she says she was, quote, manhandled before she hit rock bottom and realized it was time to get out. Though she doesn't name the ex, singer and actress speaks candidly through tears about the experience and how it affected her going forward. "Being thrown around and manhandled is not fun," she explains. "I was never in a relationship where I got beat up, thank God, but I've definitely been manhandled in a couple of other unsavory things." Jen doesn't reveal who treated her that way, but her long career in showbiz has involved plenty of high-profile relationships in addition to her marriage now to Ben Affleck. Jennifer shares more about her past toxic relationships by saying, quote, "There were people in my life who said I loved you and then didn't do things that were kind of in line with the word love. You have to hit rock bottom where you're in situations that are so uncomfortable and so painful that you finally go, I don't want this anymore." A therapist said to me, "What if this was your daughter? What would you do?" And it was so clear, she called. I was like, I'd tell her, get out of there and never look back. But for me, it was so clouded and so complicated with so much of my past and my own pain and hurt and dysfunction that I couldn't see clearly. It was like looking through fog. Jane Fonda had some honest words with Jennifer in the documentary while on a phone call with her. "I want you to know that I don't entirely know why, but I feel invested in you and Ben, and I really, really, really want this to work," tells Jen of Ben Affleck on a call filmed for the documentary. "However, this is my concern. Like, it feels too much like you're trying to prove something instead of just living it. You know, either every other photograph is kissing and the two of you few hugging. Jennifer shrugs it off and laughs though. That's just us living our life, says. But Jane Fonda did have a point, and if Jennifer listened to her, it may have saved her from receiving horrendous reviews online after both movies came out. Some saying the movie musical is the worst movie ever made. One reviewer made a list called The Reasons Why This Sucked. I had no idea what was going on in the movie. There was no theme. Actually, there were too many themes. There were so many talented artists who were used more as props. They should have had bigger roles. This movie seems like an ode to herself for nailing down a man. It's not really about love. It's a movie about conquering a man. It's basically telling everybody that other relationships that her and Ben had were just filler until they could be together again. Her kids and Ben's kids are going to be watching this. Do they really need to know how much she loves making love to their dad? We all know it's not her voice singing those songs, and if it is, auto-tune should get a lot of credit, the reviewer says. The reviewer finishes off by saying she's narcissistic, way too in love with herself, and for people clicking more than 2 stars, did you actually watch it? Or are you just clicking on 5 stars because you love this egomaniac? Thoughts in the documentary on former co-star Jane Fonda's phone call, saying Jane is still very protective of her and felt like you're putting yourself out there to get beat up again. Jane Fonda's concerns resurfaced when she thinks about photos of the couple at the Grammy Awards, in which Ben Affleck's disinterested expression became the target of memes galore and gossip about the pair's relationship. I get real scared, with all that about the Grammys, and he looks unhappy, and I'm like, oh my god, what's happening? Fonda told Jennifer. Nothing replied. Jennifer Lopez also revealed she got multiple no thank yous from more fellow celebs that she hoped would appear with her in the movie. Taylor Swift, whom Jennifer joined on stage during Taylor's Red Tour 2013, declined, according to Today.com. Jason Momoa, Jennifer Coolidge, Lizzo, Vanessa Hudgens, Ariana Grande, and Snoop Dogg also allegedly declined. Khloe Kardashian was another potential celebrity cameo who dropped out. I don't want to force anybody to this who go, it's gonna be fun, Verse says in the film. Nobody wants to say no to me, Benny. I get that, she tells her manager, Benny Medina. But when an actor doesn't like a script good enough or is worried about it, that is what they'll say. Jennifer, who ultimately put $20 million of her own money in visual album, also admits in the film that the whole project made her nervous too. People are scared to put out there. I get it, she says. Took me a long time. I'm scared. I don't act like I'm scared. That's the secret to my whole effing career. Looking back on her childhood, Lopez also reveals that she felt very ignored by her dad and that her mother was always the center of attention. She got used to being around people who acted that way. Jen felt emotionally neglected as a child, Ben Affleck says. He continues drawing parallels between her longing for approval and his own past struggles with alcoholism. It's a hard thing to look at somebody whose professional life is wildly successful and who on Instagram looks like they're living the happiest life in the world. The thing you discover is there isn't enough alcohol in all the liquor stores in the world to fill up that thing. In Jennifer's case, I don't think there's enough followers or movies or records or any of that stuff. Part of you still feels a longing and pain. Ultimately, that's the work that you gotta do on your own.
So starting off, we obviously have Mariah Carey. Now the Mariah Carey-Jennifer Lopez feud has been going on for years. It all started with J.Lo collaborating with Mariah's ex-husband, Sony record executive Tommy Mottola. Now Mariah claims that Tommy used J.Lo to try and get back at her and accused them of stealing songs. Later on, Mariah was doing an interview for the German television program TAF, and she was asked about other pop stars, including J.Lo. But she was asked this, Mariah just shook her head back and forth and said, I don't know her. Now the interview was uploaded to YouTube in 2008 and it quickly became a viral meme. Now both stars have repeatedly been asked about the comment and they can't seem to decide whether they like each other or not. In 2014, Jennifer appeared on Andy Cohen's Watch What Happens Live, and during a game of Plead the Fifth, she was asked about where her relationship with Mariah stands. When Andy said, I've always heard there was a feud there, Jennifer responded, I don't have a feud against her at all. I know from back in the day I've read things she said about me that were not the greatest, but we have never met, like we don't know each other. I think it's kind of from word of mouth of things that have happened in the past that I'm not really aware of. She added, I would love to meet her and I would love to be friends with her. I think she's incredibly talented and I've always been a fan of hers. But that same year, Mariah spoke to Andy Cohen about the feud and she stood her ground reiterating, I don't know her, what am I supposed to say? Then this year, among J.Lo's drama with Ben Affleck and her failed tour, a source exclusively told In Touch, it's no secret that Mariah can't stand J.Lo. They've had a feud going back more than 20 years, so of course she's thrilled to see her ticket sales in the toilet, said the source. Mariah's never shy about trash talking J.Lo and always complains about how overrated and phony she is. She's happy the public is finally seeing it too. Seems like these two will never make up. Now, Rosie Perez used to work with J.Lo and they met in 1991 during an open casting call for the Fly Girl dancers. Now, Rosie was the show's Fly Girl choreographer, and she claims that she was the one who convinced host and creator Keenan Ivory Wayans to pick J.Lo. Now, J.Lo made her debut in September 1991, but she really didn't get along with her fellow dancers. Rosie wrote about this in her 2014 memoir, revealing that hiring J.Lo was a mistake. All the girls were coming into my office complaining about how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me all to her advantage. Now, Rosie wrote in her memoir saying that Jen thought the girls were just jealous. She went on to say that J.Lo dropped her sweet girl act and went off on Rosie like some ghetto biatch, screaming and pounding her chest. Rosie claims she shouted, "You pick on me and only me, every effing day, every effing day. I work my ass off, deliver, and you keep pushing me aside, treating me like, shh, I know I'm good, I'm better than any of those girls and you know it." Now, J.Lo then left the show after 2 years, but she still made life difficult for Rosie as she talked crap about her. After being hurt by the alleged comments, Rosie was then surprised when J.Lo was friendly to her at a nightclub years later. Jennifer came over to me smiling, saying hello as if nothing had happened. I should have let it go, played it off too. Instead, I killed her with my biting tongue, Rosie wrote. But Rosie later explained to Piers Morgan that tabloids made a feud between them a major thing when it just wasn't. I don't hate Jennifer Lopez, I have great respect for her, she said. When I first saw her, I knew she was going to be a star. Yes, we had a tiff and it was 20 years ago. It's unfortunate that the tabloids try to portray it as something that is current, she says. Regardless, Rosie had a pass with J.Lo and wasn't afraid to call her out. Howard Stern has claimed many times on his radio show that he doesn't like J.Lo, her music, or how she's acted in her career. Now, because of this, Jennifer has avoided him, as when Howard first got the job as a judge on America's Got Talent, he tried to make his case by slamming other celebrity judges who, in his opinion, are more focused on advancing their own careers than doing the job they're hired to do. I think a lot of the celebrity judges are not that good at judging, they're more interested in promoting their career, he said in a red carpet interview with HLN in 2012. I was critical of American Idol J.Lo because I felt that she never said anything negative, let's say. And I felt like, well, it helped her career. She got very far, she suddenly got back on the charts and the show was good for her. And it became more about J.Lo. Now, on top of this, Howard has reportedly bashed all of J.Lo's music. In 2011, Howard and his co-host Robin Quivers dissected her hit single On the Floor and repeatedly played the sound of Howard banging his head against the wall in time to the music. In 2016, Howard compared J.Lo's music to that of a homeless woman who sang a nonsensical song for his staffers. Then in 2019, he called out Jimmy Fallon for praising J.Lo's Super Bowl halftime show performance, and this doesn't even scratch the surface of how many times he's bashed her, so safe to say, he's not afraid of calling out the star. In early July 2003, Jennifer fired her manager Benny Medina. She accused him of violating California's Talent Agency Act, filed a petition accusing him of misappropriating her money, and sought millions in back commissions plus 10% interest, according to Billboard. It was said that Benny was not a licensed talent agent under the Labor Commissioner, a violation that entitles a performer to seek a refund for any payments to the acting talent agent up to a year before filing the petition. Now, in J.Lo's case, this amounted to 10% of earnings from movies and television, 15% of her music, recording and publishing earnings, and 10% of her earnings from other activities, including fashion and cosmetic interests. Benny denied the allegations, saying, "Jennifer Lopez, by making false allegations against me, is now trying to add me to the long list of people whom she has used and discarded after she took from them all she could get. I will defend myself against these lies and will collect from her every dollar which I am owed." Now, in the end, that December, it was reported that the dispute was settled quietly some time ago. Now, Jennifer later rehired Benny to revive her music career in 2005, and the two have remained friends and business partners ever since, but it just kinda seems off. Then there was the time J.Lo's makeup artist Scott Barnes was fired after being accused of leaking information to the press about J.Lo's marriage to Mark Anthony. During an interview on the Jeff Probst show, Scott set the record straight after rumors circulated that he and 2 others leaked plans of J.Lo and Anthony's secret marriage, and as a result, J.Lo's team shunned Scott. He said, "No one would talk to me, it was like I had the plague." Then, when the truth came out that Scott did not leak the news or even know about the wedding ahead of time, he received a phone call from Jen, who Scott claims said the following: "It was like, hey, it was a big misunderstanding. You know, we have a lot of stuff coming up and I really miss you, so let's just get back to work." Now, although Scott was very gracious about the whole thing, it appears that J.Lo did not apologize to him. Why he would go back to work for her, I have no clue, but at least he got the truth out that it was not him who leaked the news. And finally, we have J.Lo and Madonna. Now, their feud all began when Madonna was asked about who she thinks is the best female singer in the world, and she said Jennifer Lopez was a good actress, but couldn't sing. Then, in a 1998 interview, Jennifer fired back at Madonna, saying she wasn't a good actor while promoting her film Out of Sight. When asked about Madonna's acting skills, J.Lo didn't hold back. "Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Now, after the interview was published, J.Lo regretted everything she said about her colleagues and said it was all a joke. But Madonna had already read the interview and reportedly felt disrespected, so there was no turning back. Then there was a New Year's Eve party hosted by Donatella Versace that year, which was attended by J.Lo, Madonna, and Christopher Saccone. Christopher explained that Ingrid Carasez, Madonna's closest friend, ran into the courtyard during the celebration and shouted, "J.Lo is here and we are not talking to her." He said everyone except for him and Donatella Versace gave Jennifer the cold shoulder. And honestly, I kinda think she deserves it. Now, since then, Madonna has made a couple digs towards J.Lo in the media, and their relationship is still rocky.
Jennifer Lopez is trying to cheer herself up by blowing a fortune on everything in sight following her split from estranged husband Ben Affleck, at least according to the sources that have been telling the news outlets. So she has also reportedly been warned by her financial team because her spending habits are going up, and her money's not coming in up. Allegedly, she once spent $100,000 in a day on designer clothes. Oh, sorry, not just one day, folks, multiple days. And look, I get it, after a breakout, some folks rebound, some folks go to the gym, some folks focus on their careers, but J.Lo is reportedly dealing with her divorce from Ben by spending an outrageous amount of money on a variety of things. Going back to this divorce, okay, it's been ongoing for a hot minute, it's been hitting the rumor mills for months, I've talked about it ad nauseum, you know, I know. The couple, who have only been married 2 years, are now in the midst of separating and things are ugly. Repeatedly ugly. But amid news of the fights and reconciliation rumors, it has now been reported that J.Lo is splurging on herself and her entourage at this time. Also, according to the sources, not only is she splurging on her entourage, she's beefing up her entourage and then spoiling the newbies. Which means her weekly spending has like tripled because when she goes anywhere, they all go with her. Allegedly, she's throwing around money like she's a billionaire. And like, she's rich, don't get me wrong, but she's not a billionaire. Quoting a source close to J.Lo, news outlets report that all that $100,000 a day on designer clothes is just outrageous. Like, yes, sure, you should treat yourself, but she's treating herself to outrageous shopping sprees. She's calling it retail therapy. She says she needs it, but the bills are outrageous. Like, look, I get it, I've done the retail therapy, my Amazon wish list has seen better days, but like, I keep it under $100. The way she's hemorrhaging money right now is madness, but she says it makes her happy, so it is worth it. Mental health is important. If you can't make the dopamine yourself, store-bought will do. Apparently, the singer may be worth about $400 million, but her financial team is now worried about that net worth because of her spending habits. Look, let's just count it down, folks. First of all, she's got this divorce to settle, which could cost her as much as $50 million. On top of that, when you have her forking out money on all kinds of things, including a new $50 million home, well, you can do the math. Spending is just, you know, raising some red flags for her financial team. That's what they're there for, is to make sure that she doesn't wind up in the financial toilet. So, going back to that house thing, earlier this month it was reported that the singer is eyeing a lavish Azria estate in Holmby Hills, which is currently priced at $55 million. Now, allegedly J.Lo is trying to get the cost down to a more reasonable $39 million. It's still a bit of a fortune. It's a 14-bedroom mansion that has gardens, a greenhouse, a guest house, and an infinity pool. So her financial team is like, hey look, if you want things to stay where they are, if you want to enjoy your money, you might want to rein in your spending, especially if you want that home. So, why all the hubbub about J.Lo and Ben Affleck? Well, they first dated in the early 2000s. They were briefly engaged, and then they broke up in 2004. Then they rekindled their romance in 2021. It was the love story that never was until it was, and then it wasn't. engagement, and they got married in this grand ceremony in 2022. But then this year, J.Lo filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. And there was a source that was telling news outlets that, hey, this divorce is going to get messy because the two didn't sign a prenuptial agreement. Like, come on, I get wanting to spontaneously tie the knot. They did it in Vegas, very traditional, but like, you should know if you have that much money, a prenup is important. So because they don't have a prenup, they're gonna have to divide their community property evenly. And J.Lo's net worth is approximately 4 times that of Ben's. So for J.Lo, it's becoming very clear now that there's no getting out of paying Ben half of what she made during their marriage, which obviously not sitting well with her. And it's pretty likely that if this divorce keeps taking this nasty turn, she's gonna put up a fight, and yeah, she's got enough money to drag this out. And frankly, I think she'd rather give the money to lawyers than Ben, so she's given her team the go-ahead to stall as much as they can, no matter what it costs in her fees. Yeah, okay, with all this combined, I can see why her financial team is a little worried. For his part, Ben is trying to downplay the money aspect of it, but there's no doubt it does represent a pretty decent payday, and he's justifying taking it by saying he deserves every dime just for putting up with her and all her drama. So much for true love. As nasty as this sounds, the two have been spotted spending time together despite filing for divorce in August. Even though for months before that, you couldn't see them together anywhere. Online sources say that apparently they're working on their issues for the sake of the offspring, right? One source said they got all very close during their relationship and there's still a great deal of love there. The estranged couple came together to attend their offspring's back to school night last month. They were later seen hanging out at a family outing in Beverly Hills. That's, like I said, more than the award shows previously. Also, another reason the couple is trying to iron things out is because they have vested business interests. Jen and Ben are still working through sorting out property and projects that they had vested interests in, and it's not as if they can just cut each other out of one another's lives so quickly. Also, there's another source that's working with the lawyer and is like, look, everybody wants everything to be ironed out without drama. The duo did have a public fight recently in Beverly Hills. A new report has quoted a source close to J.Lo saying she will never forgive estranged husband Ben Affleck after reports of a public tiff between the two that had the singer in tears. They're in the middle of this divorce, like emotions are everywhere. So this report from Marca claims the couple was spotted sharing some very tense moments, and pictures from that day show the couple on an outing with Ben's offspring, Samuel and Finn, Jennifer's twins, Max and Emma, and the pictures showed an emotional Jennifer wiping away a tear while Ben stood nearby. And In Touch magazine quoted a source close to Jennifer saying that Jennifer would never make a scene in front of, well, the offspring, but she's made it clear she will never forgive Ben for being such a cold-hearted jerk and giving up on their marriage. Whew. So, like I said earlier, they did plan to keep things civil during the ongoing divorce, but it seems like those cracks in the facade are emerging, especially as things are getting underway. After Ben's split, J.Lo wants to start a new chapter. She's ready to move on. I believe in this moment, she was dressed in like a curve-hugging white suit, sky-high heels. She was just like there to have a good time. You know, this was, I believe, one of their meetings about the divorce. They were meeting up at one of the buildings where they have separate workplaces in the same building, and they felt like that was a good place for mediation. And people did see like Laura Wasser, who is the Hollywood divorce lawyer that is mediating their separation, at that building. And like, J.Lo was dressed to impress. It was great. It's just kind of a shame though, because like, J.Lo once declared Ben Affleck the love of her life. Everything crumbled when they called it quits. A lot of friends and family have noticed a major shift in J.Lo's energy lately. Like, she's ready to move on. She's been doing some introspection, and she says 4 divorces will do that. 4? Girl, I get it. Her hopes of living a happily ever after with Ben have had to be mourned. She was thankful for a second opportunity. She was incredibly in love, and she gave it her all. So when it began to fall apart, she was obviously devastated. And as the relationship collapsed, she's got a bit of a career problem. She released 3 projects. We had like that album, that movie, that documentary all this year, and they all struggled to find an audience. In May, her sci-fi movie Atlas debuted to very poor reviews. She canceled her summer concert tour, but hey, she's remaining present for all of the offspring, for all of Ben's, Violet, Finn, Samuel. I don't think Ben is in contact with her offspring, the ones that she shares with Mark Anthony, but when the 2 exes reunited on September 14th, you could see like they're hanging out. J.Lo is following her own advice. She's taken a break from men allegedly. She wants a new outlook on life. Now, if we're looking at Ben's side of things, Kevin Smith, one of Ben's besties, had something to say about all of this. He's talked about Ben being one of his favorite people on the planet. He's mentioned that J.Lo is also wonderful. And he said, about all of this, if they're not going forward, that breaks my heart and stuff. But I've always adored him. They want to stay friendly. There's still a lot of love. Which, like, okay, I'm hearing a repeating statement here, folks. So if you're wondering about the friendship here, Affleck and Smith go way back. They were appearing together in Mallrats. Gosh, you remember that movie? That like 1995 classic? It was a good one. He was actually present, I believe, at Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez's wedding celebration in Georgia, which like, he knows, he's been around.